Well, powerful testimony today in the murder trial of former attorney Alec Murdaugh. Today is the second day of witnesses taking the stand. Our Greg Adeline is live with new developments. Greg, what have we learned so far today?
Good afternoon to you. Intisar, some riveting testimony this morning from the state's witness, a detective who interviewed Alec Murdaugh on the night of the murders. Detective Laura Rutledge with the Colleton County Sheriff's Office took the stand, and we heard audio from the interview that night. We learned some interesting things in that audio that was played for the courtroom earlier on. In the interview, Alec Murdaugh once again pointing to threats that his son Paul faced after the 2019 boat crash that killed Mallory Beach. He also described a worker that he hired at Moselle that wasn't working out. And he also named friends of Paul Murdaugh, both in the Low Country and in Columbia. And he also detailed a timeline of that night. He claimed that around the time of the murders, he took a nap and then went to visit his mother, who has Alzheimer's. Rutledge said, this detective on the stand said, that timing seemed odd to her. She said that in her testimony, but perhaps the most compelling moment was when Alec Murdaugh on tape described checking the pulse of both Maggie and Paul Murdaugh. Prosecutors argue that if he was checking the pulse of victims who were badly shot, then Murdaugh should have blood on him that night. And yet, when Detective Laura Rutledge interviewed him, she testified that Alec Murdaugh was clean. Take a listen.
How would you describe the defendant's hands when you saw him when you were interviewing him? How would you describe his hands?
They were clean. Clean.
How would you describe his arms?
They were clean.
How would you describe his t-shirt?
Clean.
How would you describe his shorts?
Clean.
How would you describe his shoes?
They were clean.
I just want to ask you one final question. Is the individual in this courtroom who told you he tried to take the pulse of Maggie and Paul, is the individual in this courtroom who told you he tried to turn Paul over, told you that once, twice? Is the individual in this courtroom that you took that statement from, that we saw in this video, in this courtroom, and is the individual you described as clean from head to toe in this courtroom?
Yes, he is.
Please point him out for the jury.
He's sitting at the defense table wearing a grayish-brown jacket and a white shirt.
Your Honor, we'd like the record to reflect she has pointed out the defendant, Richard Alexander Murdaugh.
It does.
Thank you. That's all I have.
And so cross-examination is underway right now. Defense lawyer Jim Griffin cross-examining that detective and trying to discredit that powerful testimony that we heard this morning. We, of course, will have live coverage throughout the afternoon. Our Nick Neville inside the courtroom will bring you all the latest information in this trial. But for now, we are live in Walterboro. Greg Adeline, WIS News 10.
Thanks, Greg. And you can watch the trial live every day through WIS. You can download our WIS News 10 app or watch any live stream platforms.